Hello everyone, yes, it's People and Places with me, Dr. Mama K, and we are at the book launch of Professor Beatrice Oluwatoyin Okpewolu, who is the author of this amazing book. You can see it here. The title, From Scholar to Institutional Leader, a Strategic Blueprint for Mid-Career Academics in the Global South. And what we're going to find out today, a lot about what today is about. And as well, we have a little bit of questions and answers and signing of the book and a lot. I can't wait. And we have people joining online as well, apparently from across the world, because she is an international, powerful woman doing amazing things in leadership. Well, right. Enjoy.
This evening, we are celebrating the publication of From Scholar to Institutional Leader, a strategic blueprint for mid-career academics in the Global South. And in doing that, we are celebrating an amazing scholar and leader here. And I wouldn't want to call her leader or scholar. She is a scholar leader because she's never really parted with any of the two. She's merged them and blended them both so well. So Professor Piolo is a full professor of environmental chemistry and toxicology with almost 3 decades of experience spanning teaching, research, academic leadership, and governance. Her academic work focuses on environmental contaminants and sustainable development, particularly within the context of developing countries. Beyond her research, Professor Piolo has built a distinguished record of institutional and professional leadership with a strong commitment to strengthening African research ecosystems. And she also participates in the development of the next generation of scholars and leaders. And as I mentioned, I'm a key beneficiary of that. She's held my hand all through the continent and through Europe, teaching me how to dress for an airport travel, not to be, I like these digressions. I like digressions, but those are some of, besides just the mentoring and the scholarly work, those are the tips I've picked from Prof. Piolo, which may seem quite meaningless, but I also tell people, when you travel through the airport, this is how you dress, and I learned it from Prof. Piolo when she held my hand through Europe. But that's besides the point, right? She is the founder and director of BEE Solutions and Consultancy Services in Cape Town, where she works to enhance research capability, leadership capability, and professional development among African researchers and academics. She also holds an extraordinary professorship at the University of South Africa. Professor Piolo has played significant leadership roles within the global environmental science community. She served as the president of, the Society of Environmental Toxicology and Chemistry, SETAC, Africa, and subsequently became president of SETAC World Council. And mark you, she was the first person from Africa to hold that position. Professor Piolo's commitment to inclusive leadership is also reflected in her work, which advances opportunities for women in academia. I mentioned it not even realizing I was going to read about it. Women in academia. She convened the Women Leaders in Higher Education Summit and leads initiatives including Empower SA and Empower HEC-NG, which provides mentorship, skills development, and empowerment opportunities for young women. It is in this combination of scholarship, institutional leadership, and governance experience, as well as commitment to developing future leaders, that it is all this that provides the foundation for the latest book that Professor Opiolo has published. And it is really a great joy for me to introduce her. And as we all know, the journey of a scholar and a leader in academia involves a whole lot of things, from strategic planning to meetings to promotions to marketing. And if Professor Opiolo has traveled that journey and still has the energy and the appetite to write a book about it, then we owe her not just an applause, but a standing ovation as she takes the podium.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Now the black woman is blushing. Sometimes I wonder when I listen to introductions if I'm the person they are talking about. But thank you for your generosity, Dr. Teacher. Oh, wow. God, just take all the glory, Father. Good evening, distinguished guests. I'm so happy to have you all seated right here. It's exciting, and my good friend Chooks was saying, where are you? Earlier on, it's like I disappeared for a while. And it's because when I get to stops like this in my life, it kind of put me back into reflective mode. And that is why. But thank you so much for calling me out again and for reminding me of who I am. So distinguished guests, both in the room and online, because I know that a whole lot of people are online. And before I continue, I think I would like to recognize one of my teachers, my mentors, is online now. One person that has been, trailing the braids and blazing the trail for us and showing us how it should be done. He's one person that earlier when I was in Abeokuta as a graduate assistant, they would organize workshops that I used to organize later at CPUT and that I still do to develop us about research and different kinds of skills we needed as academics. Our own dear General Secretary for the Association of African University, Professor Bandele Oyewole. Thank you for being in the room, sir. He was 1 hour ahead of us, and he thought the meeting was starting at the time. I really appreciate you for being in the room. It's an honor and a privilege to have access to you even now, despite the space and time. So family, my friends, my fellow academics, I think most of the people in this room, you are my friends. And if you look around, you will understand that you are special people. It's not everybody that got this invitation at the end of the day to come in, and that's how special you are to me. And I really appreciate that you make the time to join us this evening. I really want to appreciate you. For me tonight is a special evening, not because I'm launching a book, but because this book gathers years of my reflection, like I mentioned earlier on, my experience, even my mistakes, my lessons, and a deeper understanding of how meaningful academic careers can strengthen the institutions that we serve. And because we are in open society, most of the things that I'll be talking to or speaking to this evening, a couple of you in the room, you are testimonials to the journey because you have been part of the journey for a couple of years. So the book, From Scholar to Institutional Leader, a strategic blueprint for mid-career academics in the Global South. I would like to mention, like it's also written at the back of the book, that your academic excellence can always earn you recognition. So when you publish an article, oh, you are the best publisher, you are the, you supervise the most students, you will be recognized. But it does not automatically earn you influence. So you can be recognized but not be influential in the space you are working in. And this realization is the core of the book itself. And the reason why I write this book is because many of us who entered the system, academia in particular, the pathway seems relatively, straightforward. We were taught to study hard, have that first class degree or second class upper, earn your PhD, publish, teach well, supervise students, get those grants, attend conferences, build your research profile, let those Google Scholar matrices go up, and trust that leadership opportunities will eventually find you. That was what we were taught. So you just do all the work. But the career, in the real sense of it, it does not always work that way. Maybe for a few it will do, but for many, for most, it doesn't work that way in reality. So at some point, many talented academics discovered that there's another dimension to the university that nobody really thought us about. And it is this part that I consider as the institutional influence. How do decisions actually get made? Who gets invited into strategic conversations? Why do some people become influential even when their academic records are not necessarily the strongest? Have you wondered? You go to Google Scholar profile of some people, and it's like 100 citations or 50, and I don't mean to disrespect anybody, but they're high there. Why is that so? But yes, you are counting your thousands. Nobody even knows you in Western Cape. So the question is, why do some scholars move naturally from one level of leadership to another? They're the HOD and then assistant dean and dean and VC, and before you know it, they're there. And others with equally impressive academic records, they remain outside the strategic conversations where institutional decisions are made. Trust me, there are many more intelligent people in institutions, but they don't get that influence. So there are questions of systems, positioning, visibility, relationships, political intelligence, institutional credibility, and strategic leadership. And yet, we rarely talk about these things openly. I'm sure many of you seated there, especially those of us from the sciences, when you hear politics, I'm a scientist, I don't want to. Some of us, we also made, like I said, it's a reflection about some of my own mistakes also. So before I go any further, I should perhaps address something that a number of my friends, my family members and colleagues have asked me over the past few years. And I dare say maybe about a decade now. Many of you have been waiting for me to write a different book. You have often asked me, when are you going to tell your own story? Some of you know parts of my journey. Others, you only know fragments of my journey. Many have encouraged me to write about the experiences that shaped my life, from childhood and early challenges to academic leadership and personal transformation. I want to reassure you tonight that that book is coming. It is a deeply personal story, and I believe it deserves the time and reflection required to tell it well. I hope to complete it in coming months. But this was the book I felt I needed to write first. Why? Because throughout my career, whether I was mentoring young academics or speaking at universities across Africa or beyond Africa, facilitating leadership programs or serving in international professional organizations, I kept hearing the same questions. How do I prepare for academic leadership? Why does career progression seem so unpredictable? How do I build influence without compromising my values? How do I make a greater contribution to my institutions? These are questions I always get asked almost every time I'm out there. And I realized that these questions were not unique to one university or one country, not even our own continent. I was in the US earlier this year, invited by the African Center of that particular university, and the young people, the postgraduate students, they were asking me similar questions. So it cuts across the divides of the global South and global North. So this book is my response to some of those questions. It is the book I wish had been available when I was navigating those transitions myself. While my memoir will tell the story of my life, this book is about helping thousands of young academics who will write the next chapter of their own journey. So if through these pages, a lecturer gains confidence in pursuing leadership with integrity, or one departmental head becomes more effective leader because of it, or a vice chancellor shapes a more inclusive and visionary institution, then this book will have achieved its purpose for me. And perhaps when you eventually read my life story, you will better understand how many of the lessons in this book were forged through the experiences that shaped me. So to everyone who has patiently been waiting for that book, thank you for your encouragement and patience. It's on its way. But for tonight, I invite you to celebrate this book because I genuinely believe that it has the potential to strengthen institutions, empower leaders, and contribute to the future of higher education across the global South. So my own relationship with academic leadership was not always straightforward. While I was a graduate assistant back in Nigeria, I observed my heads of department. I saw how the meetings, the complaints, the competing demands, difficult decisions, administrative pressures, expectations from everybody, students, staff, and even management of the institution, how it was overwhelming for them. And I remember thinking by myself, I don't want this. I don't want to do this. I remember asking my supervisor some years then, a particular year, that is it possible for me to become a professor without being an HOD, because it was rotational at the time. That was how much I detested leadership. I wanted to build my academic identity through science. So as my career progressed, I followed the research pathway. I became deeply invested in my discipline, environmental chemistry and toxicology. I built research collaborations, I supervised students, I published, and I became involved in professional organizations and international scientific networks. And I think one of my pride, one thing that I hold in high esteem and I'm extremely proud of is my networks. And so that was the path I chose. But leadership, sometimes that's a way of finding you, even when you are not actively looking for it. Eventually, circumstances in my career required me to take on academic management and responsibilities. And that experience changed my understanding of what leadership means. I discovered that leadership required more than the skills that had helped me succeed as a researcher. I was a great scientist. I was doing great work. But with leadership, it was different. It required me understanding people and systems, negotiating wisely, building coalitions, listening differently, recognizing both formal authority and informal influence, and also making decisions where there was no perfect one to make. And my colleague Ellie, you will know, when I was there, it was difficult sometimes, but I still needed to take decisions. So my thinking changed. I discovered that I needed more to leadership than what I already had. So I needed to remain myself while learning how to operate within a complex system. You don't want to lose yourself, but you still need to survive that system. And so looking back, I sometimes wonder what might have been different if earlier in my career I had access to mentors, role models, or books that explained these things. Perhaps I would have considered academic leadership differently. Perhaps I would have deliberately prepared for leadership much earlier. And maybe I would have understood earlier that becoming a leader did not mean abandoning my science and scholarship. Maybe it meant expanding my reach. And that realization stayed with me, and that is one of the reasons this book was written. But I want to be clear about something. The book is not meant to tell everybody to become deans and vice chancellors. That is not the essence of this, because it's not about titles. I understand that leadership is not synonymous with occupying a senior position. You can be a leader and not hold any title. If I was a leader of a particular organization or institution, and that is what I'm known for, immediately I leave that position, then I'm nothing. So I don't want you to build around positions. What I'm interested in is much deeper. It is how do you move from individual academic performance to institutional influence? That is what I want us to walk through. How do you take the knowledge you have and your credibility and experience that you have accumulated over the years to strengthen the system that you are, such that you become indispensable? So these are some of the questions that the book answered. They are particularly important to us in the Global South. Global South, I mean Africa in particular and Latin America. And I'm saying the reason is because education is rapidly growing, population is rapidly growing in both continents, and we are required to produce knowledge and respond to priorities of our different continents. And we have also limited resources to do all of those. So we are operating in a really complex socio-economic systems where we have to balance it all with environmental and also technological advancement. So I want you to see when you are reading this book, how this book takes you through your progression in your academic career. And the first thing I want you to see there is that you see clearly what the system as it truly is. Don't be deceived by the buildings or the ties. I want you to see the system as it truly is. And I dare say upfront that this book can be disruptive in some way to you as a person, to leaders themselves, but give it some open heart to go through it so that you can benefit from some of the frameworks that are presented in the book. So you need to recognize the invisible barriers that may be slowing your progression. Why is it that I'm teaching so much, I'm doing my research, but this other person is having opportunities, but I'm here? You need to start figuring that out. Because some of them, they're actually structural. Some of those issues are cultural. Some are political. Some are based on perceptions sometimes. And sometimes it relates to your gender also. Your nationality sometimes can play a role. Your race, the generation you belong to, or your institutional history. And some are simply consequences of the way you have positioned yourself. So the answer is not to become bitter about these things, because bitterness will not take you anywhere. The answer is for you to become strategically intelligent. You need to be intelligent, and I wish I realized that much earlier in my career. So the book asks you to shift from academic performer to an institutional strategist. And this is important, it's significant. The performer will ask, what have I achieved? How many publications this year? 8. Yay! But the institutional strategists will begin to ask, what does this achievement make possible for my institution? Now I have this grant. What is it making possible for my institution? There's infrastructure that I'm bringing in. That infrastructure will remain after I'm gone. There's a name of an institution that is penned somewhere outside of my institution. That's visibility for my institution, not my personal visibility. So you want to start thinking strategically, not as a performer, because we perform. What we do mostly as academics, we are trained to perform, because the system is built in a way that is metrics driven. So you are chasing the numbers almost throughout your career. So for you, your grant is no longer a grant, like I mentioned earlier. It can be a research infrastructure. When you supervise a postgraduate student, it's not just supervision completed. I've earned this money for university. It's also a leadership pipeline. I've supervised this person that is able to take after me when I'm long gone. So you are being strategic. That is not leadership. So some people, somehow, because they are strategic, they find themselves in leadership positions without integrity. That is not the kind of systems or people we want to build or want to be. So this book talks to political intelligence also. And I know that when you first hear the political, it makes many of us cringe. I mean, I used to cringe. It's like, no, there's a reason I'm in the university, because we're trained to be objective, right? Which makes us to become subjective many times, because your objectivity is based on the data you have in the lab. The ones outside of the lab, the social, the economic parts of the work of the society that will take it, you've excluded it. So for me, in the true sense of it, your objectivity is subjective, because you are looking at it from only one angle. You've excluded the other important part. So the politics of it, people will cringe about it, but the idea is not to cringe about the politics, because at the end of the day, you will deal with people. So every place you are that there are people in that room, there will always be politics. Don't let us deceive ourselves. You know why? Because everywhere that there are resources and there are decisions to make, there will be people with differing interests. And everybody wants their interests to be taken care of. So we went into academics to pursue knowledge and to create knowledge, not for politics. But we find ourselves there, which happens to be a human system. So wherever this happens, we need political intelligence. So understanding that reality does not mean you are becoming manipulative. It means you are becoming informed. And then you know what you are dealing with and you know how to deal with it within your own values. So then you can understand power without worshiping it. You can also build your relationships without becoming transactional, right? And you can negotiate without being compromised. You can also be strategic without being manipulative. And so for me, political intelligence is something that I didn't learn. I think for most of my career, I only learned it much later. And especially when I stepped out, I understand so much more about the system I've been in. And of course, leadership is about building what remains after you have left. So when you have left a space, what have you left? What have you left there? When I got to CP2 and I started my ACP coordination, I met about 8 programs. By the time I left, we were about 12 or 13, right? That is still there. And of course, we did the Empower Essay. We started at CPUT. It's still there, and it's still spreading across the continent. So start thinking about what will be your legacies when you leave any system. And because before I end, I want to say, think about your next appointment now. Where do you want to be in the next 5 years, in the next 10 years, in the next 20 years? You don't start it when it's next year. So every time I wanted to go for promotion at CPUT, one thing people didn't know about me is that I started preparing 2-3 years ago. My first rating application was 2012. When I got the feedback, I didn't bother for another 5 years. I didn't bother to reappear. I was just working on my feedback. And by 2017, when I was ready, I applied. The research office said, no, maybe you should wait another year. I said, I'm not waiting another year. I need another feedback at least, so that we know if I don't get it, at least I get another feedback. And I got the C3 the next time. And, you know, when the promotion is coming, I'm not trying to scrabble for papers. 1 year before my promotion. 2 years ago, I'm ready. 1 year before the call, my portfolio is almost intact. My portfolio was always intact. I was already writing my motivations and all of that. I don't write it in 1 week or 2 weeks. So that by the time it's delivered, it's a clean portfolio. People are not struggling over what is here, what is there, everything is flowing. So start thinking now, what is it that you want to see in the next 5 years, in the next 20 years? This is the time to get ready. And the book will tell you how you can navigate that, how you can really map your own career journey and be where you wish to be. So for me, this evening, I know there are a number of emerging academics in this room. My admonition to you is that don't be in a hurry to collect titles, please. After that PhD, don't be in a hurry to want to be the next HOD or the next assistant dean. And sometimes it's like setting self up for failure. You need some time to grow, to be fully matured, to understand the landscape, to be prepared, to be ready. It's more than the qualifications. It's more than that way you're ready and you are able to do what you need to do. What I want you to start doing is to build substance. Build substance, build your competencies, build relationships. Learn how your institution works. Learn how your institution, find mentors. Become a mentor yourself when you are able. Collaborate across disciplines. Sciences, go to health sciences. Human sciences. Human sciences come to natural science and applied sciences. Pay attention to leaders whose values and methods you respect. I don't know if the Secretary General of AAU remember, when I wrote my first IFS research grant, I couldn't find a mentor amongst my own supervisors at the time because my supervisors were not big on getting grants and writing grants, but I wanted to be a researcher. I wanted to get external grant. I took it to Secretary General of the AAU that year. She is a food microbiologist. I'm an environmental chemist and toxicologist. But he helped me to go through it and guided me on how to get it. And I couldn't get that grant that year, but IFS funded me to travel to somebody else's lab to help me improve on my application. And I got the grant eventually. So sometimes the mentor you are seeking is not even in your discipline. Look for those people you want to be like someday. You want to be like them. You want to grow like them. You don't need to copy anybody because everybody's journey is different. But there are things you see in other people that you also want for yourself. Don't be ashamed to ask for it and ask for help. So you can be an excellent scholar and still learn how institutions work. The challenge I want to throw out now is that what institution do I want to build? What position do I want? What can my career make possible for others? How do I become visible? And what do I want my visibility to be used for? So for me, if we go through the chapters of the book, the way it's built into chapters and parts, I think the life of, especially the young one and the emerging ones that are just starting, is just so much more easier. And I dare say that my dear friends and colleagues, there are two of them. Professor Mamukete Pakeng wrote a foreword into the book, and that is one thing we all agreed upon. And my other colleague also, she's in Latin America, Julie Brother, she wrote a second foreword from Latin America perspective. The story is the same, that if a book like this were available, even for me, I think maybe my career trajectory will be different. And so I will encourage you to get the book, read it, not just to support me, but to support yourselves, to guide you, to be like a guidebook for you as you navigate your own career. So I want to thank all these beautiful people from my undergraduate days in Abeokuta to when I became a full professor at CPUT that has been part of the journey. that has been helping me, that has been supporting me, that has been guiding me, that have been paving the way for me and holding my hand. I want to thank every one of them. And of course, my dear family. Oh, these ones, they suffer. My children suffer. My family suffered, yes. But my parents, they didn't even have their daughter for many years because I was chasing this thing that is called academia. I want to thank all of you for your understanding and support. My mentors, my students, at least I have one in the room and I know there are others online. My dear friends in Cape Town, my goons. Thank you so very much, each and every one of you. I think the institutions and professional organizations that gave me the opportunities to serve also, I want to thank them also because I learned a lot in those spaces. I hope that this launch is not the end of the journey. I hope it becomes a conversation, and I hope it becomes a mentoring tool also for others. I hope it finds its way to the hands of academics who are quietly wondering what the next chapter should be for them. And I hope it finds its way into leadership programs, faculties, departments, and institutions. And I hope that somewhere an academic reads it and realizes I do not have to wait for someone to make me a leader. I can begin preparing to lead now.
Any questions, comments as well are welcome. Yes, please. And you may introduce yourself.
Good evening, everyone. I am Dr. Kenya Kiode-Adebayo, known as Dr. Mama K. Professor Kweolu, firstly, congratulations on this, big achievement.
You may step forward. You may actually step forward so that you are.
I think, firstly, just to say congratulations, on this big achievement. And, listening to you and hearing you was very refreshing for me as a woman. And hearing your journey, briefly, in terms of how you've come, 30 years, over 30 years from
Imashai.
So here, being an emerging, not just a leader, but in terms of promoting women in leadership, championing women in leadership. And as we celebrate South Africa's Women's Month, this is very timely as well. I wrote my question down, so I talk too much, so. So the question for me is, what has been the single biggest bold move you've had to make to overcome the invisible systemic barriers that female academics face when trying to transition into institutional governance? You spoke, a lot, there about getting mentor, being a mentor, but for you, what has been the biggest, bold move that you've had to make? Thank you.
That's a deep one. The greatest, because I've made a lot of crazy moves, as you know. I mean, I left a tenure position in Abeokuta to come pursue a one-year postdoctoral position in South Africa. That's how crazy I am. And I left my fat paycheck as a full professor in the university to start a business with nothing. That's another level of craziness. I have a story that I would love to tell, but because it involves other people and organizations, I'm hesitant to say it. But I just say that I found myself in a position where I was a leader. And some people decided not to recognize me as a leader. And they were not going to give me the respect I deserve as a leader. Because so many things work against me. I'm African. I'm a woman, and I'm this tiny. So, and I still needed to be that leader because it was everything to me. Because, you know, when you, let me put it this way, when you are the first in any space, and I'm a first in many things, it's like all eyes are on you. And because you understand that that positioning is beyond you, there are things that you just need to suck up, that you would ordinarily not suck up. And I had to do that for a whole year.
Thank you, Prof. Piolo. And disruptiveness is good, right? Because, and I believe this book really disrupts a lot of ways of thinking and comfort zones and normalcies that need to be rendered abnormal. So thank you. Any further comments? Yes, and that is the student you talked about. Is she?
My Dr.
Zide?
Yeah, Dr. Zide.
And I must say she's a trailblazer. Before she does, I run a newsletter at our in our faculty. And every time you open the newsletter, you see her really trailblazing around the world.
Oh.
So we really, that is a demonstration of what you've left behind. Thank you, Dr. Zide.
Happy to be part of this meeting. Where is it? Without wasting any time, I just want to take it back to the leadership. And there's something that you mentioned in the previous event of yours that I attended, which helped me a lot. You said throughout the leadership, you don't want to lose yourself.
No.
Right. I remember there was an event that he invited me in December. And part of the things that I'm doing is to mentor the students, But there was a point where I felt like I have lost myself completely, and I'm done mentoring. I just want to focus to me, myself, just me, right? But after that event, I went back and I was like, no, man, I still need to continue doing this. So I want to ask you a question of, how do you make sure that you don't lose yourself, but at the same time you enforce the skill and the mentorship that you will give to your team without also losing that? Because sometimes we want to force what we think is right, and then we are hoping for a good product. Yet by the time you finish, those people that you were mentoring, they are completely exhausted, drained because of what you were enforcing to them. But how do you balance this mentor-mentee relation and make sure that both of you are coming out of that situation or out of that
relationship
better and still able to pass the information you wanted to? I just want that part.
Yeah, thank you, Dorcas. I mean, let's get this one straight first. Your relationship with your students is first as a supervisor. So when you're supervising your postgraduate students, you are not necessarily their mentor. So it's not synonymous. Supervision and mentoring they are not synonyms. So I supervise quite a number of you guys, but it's not every one of you that I'm mentoring, if you notice. So my first job to my students is to make sure that we deliver on that project. So in that process, you get to identify those ones, the trainable ones, the amenable ones, the respectful ones, the ones you can, rub on to replicate yourself. I'm happy to hear that feedback now from Dr. Teacher that, Dorcas is one of those people that will always come and, So, and there are few of you now. I don't want to be mentioning names so that I don't. But there are some of my students, we don't even talk. So it's, you just do the job as a supervisor and let them go. Actually, some of my students till today, they still think I'm a witch, and it's fine. It's fine. You're not an ice cream that everybody will love. You are not an ice cream. Some of you don't even like ice cream. So you can't carry everybody along. I have students that I really wanted to mentor, but they were just unmentorable, and I gave up. There are others, even the relationships at supervision level, you just see that, let's just finish this thing, and this one must go.
So, yeah, I've got a question that I wrote on. So do you think that the frameworks you have put forward would be applicable in different vocations? I was convinced as you spoke that the gaps in the thought and knowledge you called out as limiting influence were universal, but I want to hear from you if you believe that the lessons in the book will be relatable and beneficial to me in my career in business development and pastoral ministry through coaching.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Angeline, for your very important question. I think this is something that will work for anybody at all that is working with people. But obviously, because all my life has been, since age 15, I've been in the higher education sector as a student and later so all my life has been in that space. So most of my experience, almost all of the experiences of workplace that I have is in that. So the typical examples and scenarios you will find, they're university scenarios. But the issues, the challenges, and some of the ways you need to navigate them, they will be applicable to any system at all, where there are human beings and you have bosses, you have subordinates, you have, sometimes we talk about bullying in the workplace. And when you're talking, you hear bullying, it's like it's the bosses that bully. You'll be surprised that even sometimes the subordinates, they bully the boss. So it's helping you to understand, the power, how it flows, and the systems. Some secretaries are more powerful than some professors. Not because they have grants, but they've positioned themselves in a way that professors just care about them. Vice chancellors just respect them. They're not bringing money to the university, but they are respected. People don't want to be on their dark side. It's positioning, it's strategy, it's positioning. They've made themselves so indispensable that, no, we can't afford to lose this person. We need this person in this space. So this will work for you in that sense. Because there are practical frameworks and there are scenarios of this is the problem, but how did Dr. A navigated this? What did he do differently? What was the outcome? That's the way it's written.
Thank you. Thank you, Prof. The last question or comment? Please introduce yourself and the question or comment.
Academic excellence alone will not move you into leadership. And I think my keynote spoke to that. I will just, I've spoken about the first part of the chapter, that the corridor conversations, committee assumptions, and unspoken hierarchies solely determine who is head and who is overlooked. So the chapters that will follow will explore those forces with deliberate clarity, inviting you not to simply participate in academia, but to understand and shape it. So the purpose of this chapter is not to describe that movement, but also to slow it down so that it becomes visible.
Is there any
when you can see the pattern clearly, you can position yourself with greater intention, and when positioning becomes intentional, influence will stop being accidental.
She's reading.
So sometimes the meeting ended, and everyone knew who should have been appointed. The most published scholar in the department, the one with grants, doctoral completions, and international collaborations. The one external examiner praised. Yet, the announcement came. Someone else emerged at the head of the department. It's not the most productive, not the most cited, not even the most senior. If academic excellence determines advancement, why does it so often fail to produce leadership? That question unsettles many mid-career academics. And it should, because if you are competing only on scholarly output, you may be preparing for recognition that will never come. So the core problem, that's a subtitle. Excellence is necessary, but it's not leverage. Mid-career academics in the Global South institutions often believe that leadership is a natural reward for consistent performance. Publish, secure grants, graduate students, serve on committees, wait your turn, the logic appears sound. However, leadership appointments do not operate on linear merit alone. They are shaped by governance priorities, institutional politics, budget pressures, reputation management, coalition building, and perceived strategic fit. Your training is to produce knowledge, to understand power, but not to understand power. So that gap is the problem, and capable people have not solved it because the rules of power and leadership are rarely written down. This leadership selection often occurs at the intersection of formal governance structures, informal influence networks, historical alliances, political sensitivities, and resource negotiations. So most academics do not see these dynamics until they lead to their exclusion. The cost of remaining unaware of these dynamics is significant. It results in years of stalled progression, growing resentment towards leadership, reduced institutional influence, loss of voice in shaping policy, and watching less prepared colleagues ascend. If you compete only as a scholar, you will be valuable, but you will remain replaceable, right? Leadership requires leverage. So the lesson is to see the system as it truly is. So before you attempt to move upward, you must decode the environment. So this chapter introduces a 3-step framework. You decode how power moves, you diagnose your invisible barriers, and you shift from performer to a strategist. So it is important that the sequence is followed because you cannot reposition yourself in a system that you do not understand. And so on and so forth. Let's keep it moving. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Prof.
Hello everyone, yes, there's still people and places with me, Dr. Mamake, and we're still at the book launch by my sister, friend, and everything else, Professor Okweolu. So we've got one of the delegates who is here today with us. So tell us who you are first and your relationship to Professor Okweolu.
Okay, thank you so much, Mama. My name is Dr. Zite, known as Dr. Zite. I know the author because she taught me from my first year up until my master level. So I know her as a mother to me and as a supervisor and mainly as a mentor. So she supervised me during my master's. And what my takeaway from today's launch is really 2 things that stood out for me is during the mentorship, during the supervision, try my best not to lose myself in the process, right? And then the second thing that stood out for me is really that we need to start building the future that we want to live now. We shouldn't wait until that moment where we are there. But the future starts now. It doesn't start tomorrow. So yes.
Thank you very much,
Thank
Doc.
you.
And I know she spoke a lot about mentor, mentee,
Yes.
going out there, and you having a mentor. So for you, are you going to be mentoring anyone? Because that was one of the things she said. So are you looking forward to doing that?
Well, yes, being her product myself, I'm really looking forward to continue doing what I'm already doing because I'm already a mentor. So I'm really looking forward to read that book, and I would encourage you out there to please go and buy it and read it and use it as a guide as well. Yes, thank you.
So in closing, can you just give words of encouragement to anyone you feel led to speak to, but looking directly in the camera?
All right. Thank you so much. I will just leave 2-3 words, again, based on what the author said and what I believed in knowing her since I remember. Yes. Please start now building your careers. Start now building the life that you want to live. And lastly, I would say poverty is not an option. And if you don't want to stay in poverty, please start now.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Well, you heard it. Poverty is now an option, and start leading the life you want to live now. We'll be right back.
All right.
Hello everyone, yes, there's still People and Places with me, Dr. Mamake, and we are still at the book launch of Professor Okweolu, and here we've got one of our colleagues, and Jabun, and okay, I could go on about this young man, and he used to be my mentor, my professor, but he absconded. But anyway, that's for another matter. Tell us who you are first. And for you, there's been a lot that's been spoken here, and I know you're in the same field as well. What, are you likely to take away to implement, with your work or with your, students as well, or whatever else, you want to share?
Thank you. My name is Chuks Jervis Iwu, a full professor of entrepreneurship management at the University of the Western Cape. Let's be careful about that. The University of the Western. So if you see me hanging out with CPUT folks, I'm not there anymore. I'm with UWC. But it's been a fantastic evening, a very beautiful outing that made me think about perhaps some of the things we would frown at universities that become clearer when you've stepped away from that particular zone. And I think that Beatrice has sort of gingered me to rethinking some of the steps I took back in other engagements that I had. But I'm equally certain that this book can serve a purpose, especially targeting the DVC academics offices of universities in Africa. When they're settling in new academic staff, this should be a good material to introduce to them. And for that, I think that young woman has done a fantastic job.
I completely agree with you. And for you, going away a little bit from the academics, but in terms of some of what she spoke about in terms of visibility, in terms of political intelligence, and so on. What are your thoughts and juggling? Because even for our men, I know sometimes it's a challenge to juggle, academics and so on with life. What are your thoughts, or what are your contributions to some of what we shared?
That's
here
true.
Today?
Look, to get to the summit of higher education, which is the doctorate, is not a mean feat at all. Then you move up the ladder for some of us who became HODs, deputy deans, becoming chairs sponsored by national government, and chairs sponsored by the National Research Foundation, becoming a searchy chair. And she also went through some of those steps as well. You'd realize exactly that it takes a lot of hard work. But something we did not put into the mix was having to be, politically savvy. All we wanted to do was, for me, not just being Dr. Chuks Jervis Iwu. I come from a family where education was something to offer to your mom or your uncle, not particularly to seek, higher levels. But when that recognition started coming, many of us were not politically strategic within that space. And I think that's a revelation tonight that I believe those who are coming behind us are certainly going to benefit from the book.
Awesome.
And I really, really hail the book.
Awesome. And I know you've bought your copy to
Yes,
support.
of course.
And you'll probably get more copies to get for your department,
Absolutely.
like you recommended, within your department, other places across
That is
Africa,
correct.
because this is a masterpice.
This
like
is
what everybody is saying. In terms
I
of
haven't read it, but if what she's spoken about is found in the book, but I whispered to her earlier that she should target DVC academics of universities because they're always welcoming new staff.
Right.
And while it may be a hard sell to the DVC academic who may not want their new staff or recruits to be asking, why would this be this way? Why would
because
that
they've got the blueprint.
Yes. But I think it will also be wise for the DVC academic to start from the beginning to say, look, our university is a free space.
Correct.
Think as freely as you can. You're welcome.
Awesome.
So that can be a good resource.
Awesome.
in my
Thank you
view.
so much, Prof.
You're welcome.
Can you, in closing, just give words of encouragement to whoever you feel like speaking to, and just looking in the camera then?
All right, look, if you're an emerging academic, don't be like those of us who have become professors and chairs or whatever we think we've become. Take one day at a time, and you certainly get there. Then give back to society in any way you can. Thank you.
Wow, powerful. Thank you, Prof. Take one step at a time each day and give back. And
Right.
that is some of what we know Professor Okweolu has been doing as well in Nigeria and even here. So, and yourself in terms of what you're able to do within the Nigerian community and beyond.
Right.
We thank you, we salute you,
Thank
we
you.
see you. We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Hello everyone, yes, welcome to People and Places with me, Dr. Mama K. And we are still at the book launch by Professor Okweolu. And wow, this one is an extra special person. Well, let her tell us who she is and we'll just have conversation. Tell us who you are and your relationship to the author.
Okay, hi, I'm Glory and I am the author's daughter, the favorite one, of course.
You're going to be in trouble now.
So I'm here today obviously for the book launch in support of my mom's achievement, and I'm super proud of her actually.
And for you, I know, she said earlier on, she put it all together very quickly, but I'm sure you've been working behind the scenes alongside your siblings, so you're going to get into trouble for saying you're the favorite. So how has that journey been, helping her with the background work and now seeing everything, with the attendance, which was well attended, everything coming into place, the book signing and everything else. How's that been for you?
I mean, for us, we're used to my mom doing these things. Hey, she always, what we like to call crazy decisions or impulsive things that she always says she thinks about ahead, but she already told us she's going to write a book and we're all just like, okay, sure. And she actually did it, and all we just do is just support her and make sure that, everything that you can see, we just help with the little admin, but she did the hardest work and she did the biggest the biggest thing of putting the book together.
So for you, hearing what everybody has said, and in particular, when the question about how do you balance, because normally as well, that's a tough question for a woman, for somebody, like her, parenting and everything else. How was that for you, being on the receiving end? I know earlier on she mentioned about leaving you guys and going away, for a conference that she had to be at. And you've turned out well. It's grace of God. We know that as well, and probably the foundation that she's given you. But how has that been, for you? I know you said you've seen her, I mean, it's normal.
Yeah.
But deep down, do you feel, she sacrificed a lot? Or how do you feel? Let me not put words into your
I
mouth.
mean, she definitely sacrificed a lot. If there's one thing I wish I said after she answered that question was, regardless, we never felt abandoned at any stage. She was still always there for us, for the important things. I mean, she still attended my school, not graduation, but like, Thanksgivings, prize giving. She was still very much present. And we understood, even as young as we were, that she was making sacrifices for us. So I don't think we ever thought, oh, our mom just left us, little kids, oh no, you're abandoning us. I think definitely we knew that she was doing everything for the betterment of our lives and our futures, and we could see that at home as well, because then she was able to provide us really, a great life, if I can say it. I am who I am now thanks to my mom. So, we're forever grateful for those sacrifices regardless.
Awesome.
Yes.
So are you now, let me ask you an interesting question.
Yes.
Are you considering, or are you in academics or in entrepreneurship, or where do you fit?
Personally, I didn't want to go the academia route because I saw the trauma. No, thank you. But maybe one day, you never know. But for me, I am currently in the corporate space. I'm a data analyst at ShopRite Group. So I'm more in the mathematics and data analytics side of things more than the chemistry. She knows, we always made a joke because my brother and I are the ones that are good with the maths and the physics. And we hated the biologies and the chemistries, where that's her strongest point.
Right.
So we always joke that we took the opposite gene, not that one. So definitely not the environmental sciences side, but definitely the numbers and the analytics. So yeah, but maybe one day, I never know, maybe I might get tired of the corporate world and decide.
Although
maybe
saying
I'll
that,
go
she's
research.
now in entrepreneurship. Entrepreneurship lines. So maybe something as well you could support
It could
her.
definitely
Data
be.
analysis and everything else.
Yes.
So you never know. I'm sure
Yeah.
she'll drag you in there.
For sure.
You've already been dragged into this one. So be
That's
ready.
true.
Not dragged. Willingly.
Yeah, I am still going to further my studies, of course, just for I want to also get a PhD so I can get people to call me doctor,
There we go.
But I don't know if I'll be in the university space though, but we'll see.
All right. All the very best, Glory.
Thank you.
Can you just give words of encouragement, especially with you, as a young person, an African, an expatriate African here in South Africa, and she spoke, well about leadership, and she's in that space. Can you give words of encouragement to whoever speaks, to your heart?
Yeah.
Just by looking at you.
If there's definitely one thing I can say, as I'm not even someone in the academic space, but I can definitely see how this book is going to be very beneficial in my role, especially in the corporate space. I can see that it has to do with concepts and, dealing with leadership and dealing with people at different levels within any space. I think you can definitely incorporate that book into like your professional space as well. So it's something I haven't read it yet, but I'm very interested in reading it to see how it can also help me. And if there's one thing I can also say is that my mom is definitely someone that showed us that you can literally do anything if you put your mind to it, regardless of the cost, regardless of the sacrifice. If you put your mind to it and you want it hard enough, you can definitely achieve it. And I think this book heavily highlights that as well. So I'm super excited and I'm so proud of my mom. And get yourself a copy.
There you
Do yourself a
You're
favor.
doing the marketing already. Well, Glory, thank you for sharing there. We
you.
just want to say thank you with our special African Snap from Bold Moves Media. Chin Chin, we're just saying
Ooh, childhood
all the very
things.
best.
Yeah.
We'll be right back.
Thank you.
Hello guys, yes, we are still at the book launch of Professor Kwali with me, Dr. Mamake, and I've got our NC coordinator today, Compare. He did a brilliant job, by the way, and please tell us who you are first and what your role has been today, because I know you did a brilliant job, even though at the beginning you were like, oh, I don't know, I haven't done this in a while. Tell us who you are, and then what has stood out, from all the discussions, the questions, and everything else.
Thank you so much. My name is Ignatius Teacher. I am a staff and a former colleague of Professor Piolo at CPUT. My role today as MC was mainly to coordinate the program, which was an easy, beautiful program to coordinate because every aspect of it was really celebratory. And what stood out for me is the realization, the understanding, the knowledge that what was said here was a true reflection of the person speaking. Because when people write books, sometimes you would read the book and you're never too sure whether this comes from a place of authenticity. But for someone that I've known for a while, and I've known what her convictions are, what her principles are, what her motivations are, one just hears who she is, what she stands for, in what she says. So that tells me that when you read the book, which is really beautifully written, when you read the book, you're reading a true, authentic voice of someone who has lived what she is sharing, who has experienced it, or who aspires to it, and not just pages aimed to sell and to,
Thank
So
you.
that was the beauty, the authenticity of it.
And I think you mentioned that a lot of times, you know, in terms of what you were saying, and we saw that even from those who joined online, they shared, you know, how, you know, she has touched their life and she was so real, you know, with all that she shared. Thank you so much for supporting her and being here. Words of encouragement for anyone. Please, can you just...
Oh, thank you.
Please.
Words of encouragement would be for everyone to buy, own, and read this book, because I've looked at, skimmed through it, and I found that it's really a very useful manual, not just for those in academia, but for anyone in any sector. Whether you're aspiring to leadership or you're in leadership or not, it's a very useful manual, well written, beautifully written, with a lot of creativity, but also authenticity and clarity of thought and of expression. So what I would say is everyone should read this.
Thank you very much, MC. We've got this from Bold Moves Media. It's an African snack called Chin Chin, just to say thank you.
Thank you.
For coordinate this.
Thank you. I really appreciate it. Thanks for being here and thanks for everything.
Thank you.
Lovely.
We will be right back.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Wow, wow, wow. What a day it has been. So yes, welcome back to People and Places with me, Dr. Mama K. And yes, we are. And the day has been amazing at the book launch for Professor Okbeolu. Well, we need to hear a little bit more about her. You've seen, you know, everything that happened during the session. So, ma'am, tell us who you are and your business and a little bit, you know, about you before we even talk about the book.
Well, I'm that young girl, that small girl from Imashai, Yewa, North Local Government of Nigeria. Beatrice is my name, a professor of environmental chemistry and toxicology. And I'm the director and founder of B Solutions and Consultancy Services. It's a business that is based in Cape Town, South Africa. We are also a registered company in Nigeria also. And we do more about institutional capacity building activities, postgraduate training, you know, encouraging emerging researchers and supporting them for their next career move or their next career stage. And I'm passionate about my science. I'm passionate about women. I'm passionate about people, especially vulnerable people in their communities. And that happens to be the social aspect of my work also. So I consider myself a social entrepreneur in some place. I'm a businesswoman. I love making money from my business, but I love giving back to my communities also.
And you know, first, I love what you're wearing, by the way. You look amazing. I love the earring. I love the hair. I love everything. So I always love complimenting, you know, people, you know, when I see them. And you were intentional with the look for tonight. So congratulations once again for this amazing, you know, achievement, which I know is the beginning of so many. You spoke earlier about the fact that, yeah, a lot of people probably were expecting you to write a memoir about yourself and your life. And then when we're talking, it went on to, oh, okay, maybe it should be about entrepreneurship, maybe it should be about parenting, when all the luncheon was going on. So what was the main reason for you deciding to say, okay, this is the one, a blueprint, for mid-career academics in the Global South? What really triggered you to say, this is what I want to do before even the memoir and everything else?
I actually started my memoir, but in the last 3 years, I've had opportunity to travel the world, Africa, Europe, and North America, and I've had opportunity to engage with emerging researchers and postgraduate students. Most of the questions I hear students asking me is, how do I manage administrative responsibilities as a researcher? Is it even important for me to do it? How do I transit from being a researcher or a lecturer to becoming a leader? And there are questions around navigating the politics, which people, especially in the sciences, cringe at. That, no, I'm not a politician, I'm a scientist. And how do we navigate it? But, stepping out of academia have really helped me to reflect about my journey, the things that worked, the things that didn't work, why those things didn't work, and the opportunity I've had to also have access to leaders and listen to them and their stories. It has helped me to understand more some of those complexities. And so every time every young woman or young man asks me this question, it's almost the same thing all over the world. So I thought, no, there's a need for a book that can guide people, that can really help them to navigate their careers as they emerge. When they are informed, that they can choose their own path. When they have all of the information available for them. It's not because of the little thing they see that, push them into making choices and decisions that are not necessarily the best for them. And I think this book speaks to all kinds of things, challenges, opportunities, issues that any emerging or postgraduate student may have as they navigate their own career journeys. I think I told people earlier this evening, it's like a laboratory handbook, literally, that you can always refer
Practical
to.
one.
Yes, there's this problem I'm going through. Let me go to this chapter. And then you find a framework there that can help you navigate that really effectively. So that's my motivation, to support thousands of
I'm not surprised,
youngsters.
and I know that it will go a long way, in doing that, because we heard, through the energy of the people in the room and some of what they were saying. Now, let me go now a little bit back to you personally. There were people that joined from all over the world, and you've been doing this work in the women's sphere, the community work. We had, you speak about the Oba from your town, register. You're a people person. You are parenting, you drive, you've got mentees, and so on. What for you now, and I know you said you're a very, visionary person. So where you've planned 2-3 years in advance. So now, what next in the next 5 to 10 years? Have you already started thinking about, okay, where do I want to be? Okay, 1 book, 10 books, 5 books, more money. What's your goal, in the next 5 years?
And the next year I want to be really rich. I want to have money now. God has helped me beyond where I ever even thought for myself. So every time I reflect on that Bible verse that says, He's able to do exceedingly above what we think or imagine. That is me defined, literally. The things I imagined for myself, God has taken me far beyond that. And so I'm so grateful. At this stage of my life, I think it's more of gratitude and trusting Him to use me to support other people, to be the best they can be. So the slogan of my business is #BeYourBest. The idea is we can all reach a full potential given the right support at the right time. Sometimes I look at systems, I look at people, And I see people that, oh, this is a potential, vice chancellor, a potential professor that is never, or that may never be, because, access, time, and so many things will determine how far people will go. So for me right now, if I'm able to see a generation of women or, young people from vulnerable communities that have education because of me, I'll be a very happy person. So the money I'm saying I want now is not necessary. I don't really need much again to live. But I need resources to support other people to be the best they can be. And there are lots of people out there that you just know this is talent wasting away because there are no opportunities, because there's no access to resources. So in the next 5-10 years, I hope to see a B solutions and consultancy services that is already running itself with little or no Beatrice and people thriving in that space, because one of the cultures that we want to create is that the workplace can be healthy. The workplace can be healthy and also productive.
Right.
Because one of the myths or, lies we spread in many, formal spaces is that this is a workplace and everybody must be serious. It's not a place to hug people. But you see, some of my colleagues that were hugging me this evening, they were my colleagues. We were colleagues. I was a boss lady. And they knew that when the boss lady wants work done, it must be done. But the boss lady can still come and hug them. So you can be assertive and not be cruel. Cruelty is not a synonym to assertiveness. So these are some of the cultures I hope to foster in my own space. And maybe, just maybe, it will become so vibrant and seen by the world that the framework we're using or the model we're using is so successful that other people and other systems want to understand what it means to put human-centeredness into whatever we're doing. Because at the end of the day, humanity should be at the core of everything we're doing, whether we're developing a policy, whether we're implementing something, whether we're developing a technology. What is it? What does it mean to the human beings on the planet and other creatures that we share the planet with? I think that would be the core of it. So for me, if I can see my sustainability kind of visions in terms of economic sustainability, social sustainability, financial and environmental sustainability being fostered across the globe because of the work that I do, I think I'll be a very happy person.
Wow, I've got a lot of questions in my head. I wanted to ask this one, I want to ask that one, but I'm thinking because of time, we definitely need to have a one-on-one, to hear more of you sharing your story and the impact as well that you've made. But one thing for me, maybe I'll close with that one, because obviously you're a mother, you're a grandmother, you're a colleague, you're a business entrepreneur. Juggling, all this role. And one of the things I know you mentioned as well was breaking poverty, the circle of poverty. So what are you mostly proud of? Would you say now you've broken that cycle of poverty for, you and your generations to come, or is it you parenting, or is it, I don't know, just last one.
To a great extent, I'm proud that I can't call myself poor again. I'm not a millionaire or billionaire, but I mean, I have decent life that I can live comfortably with. But that is not my greatest pride.
Right.
My greatest pride is the things that seem so impossible that God has helped me to achieve. I'm proud to say that I'm the first PhD holder in my entire family, and now the first professor. So the last time I was in the village, I told the children there that if any of them see me today and they still think they cannot be the best they can be, that's on them.
Right.
Because if I was able to do it, any child must be able to do it. My journey, my life, the way it's played out, it's a story telling other kids in that place that, listen, you can be better. And that is my prayer, that they're better, they're stronger, they have better visibility because they are looking at, because they see me and they see themselves, because I see myself in them. I expect them to see themselves in me, that I can be this woman someday. I can be better than this woman someday. That would be my pride.
Wow.
That I've built that legacy of possibility for people, not necessarily to become professors, but to become medical doctors, politicians, whatever it is they chose as their own path to take. They have that opportunity because they look at me.
Thank you so much. I want you to just give words of encouragement. There's already so much in there that you've given, but if you look in the camera, to give words of encouragement to whoever else that not just the children from your hometown, but anybody else you want to speak to if you look in the camera.
I mean, what I will say is that embrace your own journey. There is no two journeys that are the same. Embrace your own journey, understand your own context. Don't compare yourself to other people, because you are coming from different spaces and you have different strengths, you have different priorities. Embrace your own journey. Be the best you can be in the space you are, and focus on yourself. Focus on building competencies. Focus on being the best version of you. Be your own competitor. Don't compare your own life to other people's life. Look at the good in your life at all times. Dwell more on those and work on the ones that you want improved. Don't dwell on the dark side of your life too much, because that's how to stay and live miserable. But when you dwell on the light that is shining around you, you will have a happy and fulfilling life. Thank you, Mama
Wow,
K,
so
and
much
God
packed
bless you.
in there. Thank you so much. I hope people have got their pen and pencil or paper right in there. Always a lecturer.
I don't mind it.
But it's all good. We just want to say thank you. It's our Africans like teaching. Just to say thank you. Of course. It's something small. Thank you. So now, where can we get the books? I know we've got the, if people can get their copy, if they can maybe scan through the QR code, and I heard it will be going on Amazon and a lot of other platforms. But at the moment, how much is the book and where can people get it?
I mean, we launched today at 399.99, that's 400 Rand, but it's going for 500 very soon. Wow. But for the launch batch, we're doing 399 for people that want to buy that.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So is that your the business website? Maybe people can
there's a
out?
link. Yeah, okay. We will give you a link that people can use order the book there. But it will also be on Amazon by next week.
Awesome.
By God's grace.
Awesome. Well, you've heard it from the lady, the author herself. It looks good. Not just only look good, it's practical. She's been intentional with it. It's packed with a lot. I haven't read it myself, so I'm still going to read it because I only got mine signed, as well. So I'm going to read it and maybe, pick my favorite chapter and what stands out, because it's not just for people in the academics, you said. It's applicable to everyone, but we're hoping this can go around Africa, and even for Africans in the diaspora, will benefit from it. So please link up with the professor. How do they get your website, your business?
B Solutions and Consultancy Services, www.bcshive.co.za.
Awesome. We're still going to share that link at some day. Well, that's all we've got time for. We hope we've been encouraged and inspired and empowered. You heard all what has been said, but what is most important? This is a manual. This is a blueprint that it's practical. Support our young lady here, who is my sister as well. Tell to, other universities as well, VCs and so on, because she kept saying, if I had read or seen, some of what was said in there, maybe it would be, but God had that purpose for you for today. Yeah. So well done.
Thank
we
you.
see you, we love you, we congratulate you, and wish you all the very best for the future.
Thank you so much.
You're most welcome.
Thank you.
Well, that's all we've got time for. Thank you. Stay blessed. Remember, God is love.
Thank you.